Hey, and welcome back to another episode of Love Restore. I am your favorite host, Marshaun Olaniyan, and you are listening to KCCR Brownstone Cityscape. So welcome back to another episode. So we talked about several things this season, and for these next 5 episodes, we will be discussing another topic, which is avoiding dating mistakes. Now, these dating mistakes need to be avoided at all costs, number one, but also sometimes we get into a relationship without even realizing the things that we need to avoid. And so if you are in a new relationship, or if you are in a relationship that you've been together for a while and you're like, something about this is not going right, I don't really understand what's happening, it might just be you. And so maybe you did not avoid these dating mistakes that we're going to talk about over these next 5 weeks. So before I jump into the first one that we're going to discuss today, which is not understanding your worth as a woman, we're going to define what that is. We're going to talk about some of the things that you're doing wrong, as well as what you can do right or better in order to up your level, in order to up your game while you're in a relationship. But before we jump into that, let's talk about why I decided to start Love Restore. It is something that was very personal to my heart because I had been hurt a time or 5 or 10 or 20. And the reason why I got hurt is because I did not understand how to be very selective in the dating process, as well as when I got married. I got married very young at the age of 21. I met him at 18. And so we dated for a few years and then got married. But I didn't understand some things that I noticed within him were what we call nowadays as red flags. I didn't understand that when a person shows you who they are, you should trust them, especially if your gut is telling you that something isn't right. You have to really understand and hone in and even take time to slow things down and self-reflect on why your gut is telling you to take heed. And so I didn't understand any of those things. I grew up in a household where my parents were married for a long time. I grew up around relationships where I know a lot of people have grown up on the opposite end of the spectrum. I didn't see a lot of toxicity in my family or just around me, period. My mom kind of sheltered us from that. Thank God she did. But because of that, right, me not understanding some of the things I didn't understand from looking at somebody else's relationship or looking at someone else's life, the things that I didn't want just because I didn't see. I only saw the things that I wanted, but I did not know how to get them. And you may be like that, like that yourself, where nobody's necessarily giving you the blueprint, but you still don't really understand what or how to attain said relationship goals and even values, how to build the foundation, how important it is to have a foundation and not just jump in so fast. So we're going to be talking about a lot of those things, but I decided to start Love Restored specifically because I liked those things. And I went down a road of in and out of relationships, in and out of situationships, toxicity, in my own form of what I now see as toxicity, not only from the outsider, the other person, the man that I was dating at the time, but also from myself. I didn't understand some of the things, some of my own baggage that I was bringing to the table. And so with all of this information, I have studied so many books, so many articles, so many magazines. I've talked to several different people. I've talked to several different couples. Again, my own life experience. And I just started to really after I got a divorce, I went in and out of the dating stage, and I was on this roller coaster of dating for 14, 15 years. And one day I was just like, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of not understanding why these relationships are not going to the next level. And what is it about me that's making them not go to the next level? And so I have really had to reflect on who I was and how I was showing up and really just ask some of the tough questions to the men that I had dated previously. And so, sometimes you are dating these guys or whatever, and you don't talk for a while, and then all of a sudden you get that "what are you doing" text, or "how are you doing," that trying to come back into the picture text. And so honestly, I waited for those texts to come around, and once they started coming around, I would then ask the guy on the other end for us to have a face-to-face talk, meet somewhere, whatever, didn't matter. But really what I was doing was gathering the information, now that I see it as data, gathering the information in order to really understand why we weren't going to the next level. Because in that regard. I never dated myself in that way, right? So I had and have some blind spots just like you do. And so I wanted to understand what those blind spots were so I can start to work on those areas. So when the next relationship came around, I was better able to handle myself and not repeat the same mess all over again. I wanted to start breaking those generational curses and really own who Marshaun is, understand why I am, understand how I can show up better, understand how I can attract better. And so Love Restore was really created with all of these things in mind. And I'm here to share this information, this data, this my experiences to say, hey, if you don't have to experience the same things or worse than I did, then I have definitely fulfilled my God-given purpose on this earth. So with that being said, without further ado, let's talk about the definition of woman's worth. So a woman's worth is her intrinsic value, grounded in her unique qualities, experiences, strengths, and the love and respect that she shows for herself. It is a deep sense of self-awareness and self-respect, where she recognizes her significance, deserving of love, success, and fulfillment. A woman's worth is not determined by external validation or material achievements, but by her understanding of her inherent dignity, capabilities, and the contribution she brings to her life and the lives of others around her. So that is what a woman's worth is. And I know that a lot of us get caught up in not really understanding your own worth, not standing on your own worth, not asking for the things that you want, need, and desire, not demanding respect, not laying the boundaries out and enforcing them once you have laid them out. And so this is the very first dating mistake or early dating mistake that you need to stop doing or to avoid, right? This is the very first one. You have to understand what your worth is. And so now I'm going to go into the 7 things that Black women, or the 7 ways that Black women don't understand their own worth. Now, is this everybody? Of course not. Is this every Black woman? Of course not. There may be some that you struggle with and others you're like, absolutely, that's not my thing. I understand. Take from these talks what applies to you. Everything is not going to apply to you. Everybody is not the same or at the same growth level. So if this does not apply to you, take what does, because each of us absolutely can take in and become better by knowing what you're doing wrong so you can up level in that particular area, because each of us have areas that we can work on. So one of the first ways that we don't understand our worth as Black women is by settling for less in relationships. Sometimes you may even see that you've been disrespected. There is inconsistency or emotional neglect in the relationship, but it's because you may feel that this man, this person that has crossed your path, that finally gave you some attention, is the best in which you can get. That's just not true. You have to know in your knowing, in your gut, that you are worthy of respect. You are worthy to be loved. You are deserving of love. And if he's not willing to come up to the level of or a standard of what you're asking, then he is not for you. So settling for less just to say that you have a piece of a man instead of the man that's right for you, because maybe you don't want to keep waiting. But in that waiting process, that's when you should be working on who you are and how you want to be better in your next relationship, and some of the things that you need to continue to practice before you get into another relationship. So settling for less in a relationship is a killer of not understanding or knowing your worth. Another thing is overextending to please others. This may even be seen as people pleasing, where you're constantly prioritizing the needs and wants of others over your own, even believing that your value comes from how much you give to others, which again is just not true. This is something that you must be willing to take heed and understand that even if you start to over extend yourself to others, you are the one that's going to end up burnt out. You're the one who's going to be having those feelings of resentment. And at some point, you're going to blow a gasket because you're just constantly giving, which means everybody is taken from you. And you're not taking the time for yourself to replenish and recharge who you are and how you need to be able to recenter yourself so you can think clearly, so you can show up as your best self, so you can give your all when you're ready or even when you want to. Knowing that taking care of yourself is a form of you owning your worth, you knowing that you need this. The third way that we as Black women don't understand and own our worth is avoiding self advocacy. What this means is that sometimes you may even hesitate to speak up for yourself, even in your professional life, and especially in your personal life, because maybe you're afraid of being seen as difficult or ungrateful. And if you don't speak up for you, sis, who's going to speak up for you? Nobody. Everybody, and that's all of us included, we will try to figure out what it is that we can get from the next person. And you may not do this on a conscious level, but after a while, you may think, oh, yeah, I can call and whatever, insert that name is the person that you're leaning on, but you're taking when you're asking from the other person. That's okay, right? Understanding that there is a give and receive, that's okay. But just the point of you realizing that you take as well from others. But you cannot allow everyone around you or most people around you to keep taking from you. So you're not speaking up for yourself, where you're just going along with everybody's program. You have to be willing to speak up for yourself, even if everybody else around you is looking as if you are an alien. Ask for the things that you need because nobody is a mind reader. And we don't know what you need unless you speak up. Your spouse doesn't know what you need unless you speak up. In your professional settings, they also don't know what you need unless you speak up. You must be willing to advocate for yourself. The fourth way that Black women don't understand and own their worth is internalizing the negative stereotypes that the world has about us as Black women. May believing in and living by the harmful societal stereotypes that diminish your own self-esteem and your self-image, such as all Black women are loud. Well, some of us are loud, but not all of us, right? Right? Or all Black women have baby daddies. That's just not true either, right? I mean, I don't know if that's a stereotype that people are saying nowadays, but that was one that I used to hear about all the time. But it was just not true. Even personally myself, I didn't even have a child until I was 38. So, like, I know that I wasn't a part of the stereotype, but just seeing and believing what society is saying about Black women, about yourself. You're loud, you're nobody can get along with you, you're always angry, you have resting bitch face, whatever the thing is, just because they haven't given you the opportunity for them to get to really know you. You might be the silent person in the room, or you feel like they don't hear you even when you do speak. So stop internalizing that stuff. Understand that you are worthy. Understand that God put you on this earth for a reason. And now it's time for you to stand up and own what that reason is. Understanding that your voice does matter. The things that you have to say does matter. And it doesn't matter what society says about you as a Black woman. You show up the way that you want to show up. If you don't want to be a part of the stereotype, then you have to make sure that you're not doing the stereotypical things that they keep saying about Black people. You can be the person that starts to break the mold based off of how you are showing up and coming off, not only in the professional setting, but also with your spouse. You don't have to be the tough woman all the time. You don't always have to show up in your masculine. You can be feminine. You can allow your guard down, right? So all of those things don't play a part into them. The fifth way that Black women don't own their worth is by comparing yourself to others. Now, this one is kind of universal, but I know that it does happen to us as Black women as well, where we're constantly measuring our worth against others, leading to feelings of inadequacy or inferiority. You're not inferior to anybody. You are who you are on purpose. So own who you are. You look the way you look on purpose, own all of it. Your butt is the size that it is. Your breasts are the size that they are. Your gut is the size that it is. If you don't like anything about your physical, you literally can change it. If you don't like your vocabulary, start learning new words and practicing them in sentences. Start saying them, right? If you don't want to be a part of the stereotypical, you have to literally do something completely different. If you don't like the way that you dress, start dressing a way that you feel more comfortable, more confident, where your self-esteem is high, where you're able to put your head up. Because here's the thing about comparison anyway. Anytime you compare yourself to somebody else, you're always on the losing end of the stick, because that comparison, you literally put them on a pedestal above yourself. And you don't have to do that. If it is something that you like about their life, you don't have to be envious or talk trash about them. You can say, you know what, I actually like that about their life. Let me see how I can incorporate that into my life. It doesn't have to be a comparison. What you could is just reframe it to say, you know what, I actually like that. Now let me try to figure out. So maybe a real life example. Maybe you know somebody that has a cleaner, a person that comes and clean their house, or a maid, or a nanny, or a person that comes in. I can't think, laundry delivery service, or they get their food delivered, whatever it is. You don't have to compare your life and think about yourself as less than. You can say, you know what? I actually like that piece about their life. Let me see if I can do that for myself. And I might not be able to do it as often as they can, but let me figure out how I can start to build that into my monthly expenses. Right. And it doesn't even have to be something that you have to pay for. It may even be, well, wait a minute, I want to wake up a little bit earlier because I have a noisy house myself. Well, let me start with 15 minutes earlier. Let me see how my day goes better. Okay, I tried 15 minutes. Let me see if I can wake up a half an hour earlier, right? So just starting to incorporate these things into your life where you don't have to feel like you have to compare yourself or even your relationship to anybody else's. You can take what you see and use it as fuel for your own fire to make your life better, not thinking that you're less than because you don't have. Right? Okay. The sixth way that Black women are not only their own worth is by downplaying their accomplishments. Now, one of the things that I want to say about this one is what I find when I'm coaching my clients is that not necessarily that they're downplaying their accomplishments. It's more that they don't focus on them enough to give themselves the credit that they really deserve. So they achieve said goal and they have all of these mile markers, but they never reflect back on the mile markers to literally pat themselves on the back, and even figuratively. So downplaying their accomplishments by minimizing or even dismissing her achievements, believing that they aren't significant or that she doesn't deserve recognition. I know that a lot of this plays into the piece of not wanting to brag or talk about yourself as much as you want. But what I really teach my clients to do is to create a success box. And this is not a vision board or anything. This is a success box is the things that you've already accomplished in your life, no matter how small or how big, right? So you may be a person that is just really happy that you graduated from high school. This needs to be a part of your success box, or got your bachelor's, or got your master's, or got your doctorate, etc. So all of the degrees, right? Or it could be that you wanted to travel the world and now your passport is all stamped up. You never thought that you were going to do that. So that passport needs to be in the success box. So things like that could have been driving the car, could have been, learning how to fly an airplane. It could have been you know what, I was really scared to be out on the water. I was really scared to get in the airplane. Whatever it is that could be your accomplishment, put it inside of your success box. So when you are feeling down, when you do feel like you want to compare yourself, instead of you going down the road of negativity, you lean into the things that you have already accomplished to let yourself know that you are worthy and that you are deserving and you can accomplish because you've done it in the past. So create yourself your own success box if you have yet to do it. You'll really see how much more you feel really good about yourself, and you don't have to brag about yourself. It's literally a reminder to say that you know what? I'm not giving myself enough credit. I have a lot of achievements in life, and guess what? Life is not over, and there are many more things that I want to achieve. The seventh way that Black women don't own or understand their worth is that they allow fear to control their decisions. When we're letting fear of failure or of judgment to distract her life choices, keeping her from pursuing her true desires and even her potential, or I should say, your potential, right? We cannot allow fear to come in and control our decisions, because one thing is for sure, all of us fear something, but most people fear the unknown. So man, I gotta get out of this relationship. Got to. But I won't leave because I don't know what that means. How long is it gonna take for me to get in the next relationship? Or I really wanted to be married to this guy. Did I give all of my good years to this guy? Do I have any more good years left to give to somebody else? What does starting over look like? I don't want to start all over. I've been with him for 10 years. Oh my God. And I gotta, so it's a whole bunch of things, just of the fear that controls your life decisions and your choices. And you gotta literally smack this fear down and say, you know what? I don't know. I don't know what's next, but I know I can't stay over here. I'm being super disrespected over here, but I know I deserve respect. So how about I go out there, up level myself, respect myself more. So when I see I'm being disrespected, I can literally speak up about the disrespect, set boundaries, enforce boundaries. And if this cycle continues, I can say, you know what? He is not the man for me, and get to stepping. Nobody says that this process is easy. Anybody that's ever been through a breakup or a divorce knows that the process is not easy, but understanding your worth as a Black woman is something that you need to embrace. You deserve it, but you have to believe that you deserve it. You can come here all day and listen to me. I can feed you, but do you believe it? I believe it about you, and I don't even know you. But do you believe it about you? You know you. You live with you. You lie with yourself every single night. You have to believe that you are deserving, that you are worthy, that you are beautiful, that you're smart enough, that you can do it. I literally was talking to a client the other day, and she was telling me how one of her exes, they were talking about they were talking about George Floyd when he got murdered by the police officer, by his knee being on the neck. And she basically made the statement of, all he got to do is just move his knee down or away or whatever so the man could breathe, right? And her ex literally told her that she was not qualified to have that conversation because she don't have a degree. What does a degree have to do with the man being able to breathe? Right? So just understanding the people that we put into our life, we have to speak up for ourselves. It doesn't matter about your degree. Doesn't matter. Many of the smartest people that we look up to, the millionaires and billionaires, a lot of them walked away from college. A lot of them still to this day don't have a degree. And we wouldn't dare say that to them just because of the zeros in their bank account. You don't have to have a lot of zeros in your bank account to earn and even demand respect from those around you. Those are the ways that Black women don't own their worth. And now, quickly, I'm going to give you a list of ways to start redefining your worth. One of the first ways is setting boundaries. You have to be willing to set and even enforce the boundary once you set it. Um, Setting clear boundaries in your relationship and knowing that you deserve respect and love that aligns with your values is one of the best ways to get what you are wanting out of the relationships. But you must be willing to put yourself out there and use this God-given voice to set and enforce the boundaries. And what are the consequences if the boundaries keep getting crossed? Because maybe your threshold is 1. Maybe your threshold for the boundary being crossed is 5. Whatever your threshold is, what is the consequence? What is the consequence when your boundary keeps getting crossed? The next way to redefine your worth is to practice self-care. I mentioned it briefly by finding ways to recharge yourself, reset yourself, to come into your own, to not say yes to everybody's, to not people please. What does your self-care routine look like? Mine used to look like taking a bath, and this was pre-momhood. I have a young child, so there are less and less baths for me just because of time and me trying to do a whole bunch of other things. But what does your self-care routine look like? Mine is just changed. It's not done. I still take baths. It's just not like it used to when I was single. Okay. But what does your self-care routine look like where you prioritize yourself, understanding understanding that self-care is about your well-being, and then even embracing the activities that renew, right, your mind, body, and your spirit. And then affirming yourself, affirming what your strengths are. I mentioned the success box earlier, where you regularly affirm your unique strengths and your qualities, where you celebrate your individuality as well as the achievements that you have accomplished. Again, the success box that I mentioned earlier. Another thing is to seek out uplifting communities and people around you. Sometimes there will just be people that you need to release from your life. And that's not to say that this is going to be easy. It could be a partner, right? It absolutely could be a friend. It could even be a family member, etc. The point is you have to recognize that when you surround yourself with people who uplift you, that feed you those words of inspiration, and that they just keep inspiring you, they keep pushing you, they keep telling you that you got it, you can do it, all of the things. And when that happens, you feel so much better about yourself. You don't feel like a loser, you actually feel like a winner, and you lean into those people more and more. And the more that you lean into people that are feeding into you and helping you grow and helping you become better, you will continue to lean in those directions and feel better about yourself, feel better about your life circumstances. And again, that comparison just pretty much falls away, because people that have something going on in their life, people that are trying to attain and reach a goal, are not worried about what other people are doing or even what they're saying about them, because they're too busy with their head down, working, getting the thing that they want done, getting it done faster, getting it done without distraction, getting it done because it's making them feel good about themselves. So you jump into that as well. And then finally, I will absolutely say, if you believe in visualization, which you should, visualize your best self. So what you could do, you could regularly visualize and work toward the woman that you want to become. What this does, it reinforces the belief that you are capable and worthy of achieving your dreams, achieving what you want your relationships to look like. And I'm saying relationships because not only are you in a romantic relationship or getting ready to be in a romantic relationship. You're also in relationship with your children. You're in relationship with your colleagues. You're in relationship with your parents and siblings, cousins, etc. You're in relationship with all people, but everybody needs to understand where you sit on the spectrum of understanding and knowing who you are and how worthy you are. I love you guys, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Now, if you're looking to work with me outside of Love Restored, as I just mentioned, I coach, please send me an email at marshaunolaniyan.com. I will speak to you and see you next time where we are talking about red flags. And this is the second area that you need to avoid while dating.